Jason sat by the front door for 12 straight hours, wearing the faded blue baseball jersey his dad always loved. His fingers clutched a handmade card covered in glitter and shaky handwriting, his last hope that maybe, just maybe, today would be different. Outside, the crisp fall wind rattled the leaves against the porch, but Jason didn't move. Every time a car pulled up the street, his heart leapt, and every time it wasn't him, the disappointment settled heavier. His mom, Anna, watched from the kitchen window, pretending to hang decorations, but inside she was breaking. 12 birthdays, 12 promises broken. Every missed call from Chris had left Jason wondering what he'd done wrong. She kept her face steady, hiding the storm of hurt so Jason could keep believing. The clock hands dragged painfully slow as the afternoon sun dipped lower, shadows growing long across their small Ohio home. 12 hours of waiting, hoping, and heartbreak. And still, the door didn't open. But what happened next would change everything. Every promise broken chips away at a child's hope, but some wounds cut deeper than others. Chris had been disappearing for years. Not just missing a birthday here or a holiday there. This was a pattern that chipped away at Jason's innocence like slow erosion. The first time he missed a birthday, Jason was only 5. "I'll be there next year," Chris had said over the phone, voice rough from late-night drinks and bad decisions. But next year came, and the chair at the table stayed empty. Then came Christmases with no presents, no calls, just silence. Jason waited by the window, clutching his little baseball glove, hoping his dad would pull up the driveway. But the driveway stayed quiet. Anna tried to shield Jason from the truth. She told him dad was busy, that he loved him, that sometimes grown-ups made mistakes, but they could still make things right. But inside, she was crumbling. Each broken promise was a crack in her heart, too. There were nights when she sat on the couch after Jason fell asleep, the weight of the day pressing down so hard she could barely breathe. She would bite her lip until it bled, trying not to cry, trying to be strong. That afternoon, just as Jason was about to give up hope, the phone rang. It was Chris. His voice was strained, almost desperate. "I'm on my way, son. 3 o'clock sharp. I won't miss it this time." Jason's eyes lit up. Anna's heart fluttered with a fragile hope she barely dared to admit. But then the call dropped. The line went dead. No call back. No explanation. Jason sat at the kitchen table, the birthday cake before him, a simple vanilla with chocolate frosting, carefully iced by Anna the night before. 11 candles flickered against the autumn breeze sneaking in through a cracked window. Time and time again, the wind caught the flames, blowing out the fragile fire. Each time a candle died, Jason's small shoulders slumped a little more, like his hope was being snuffed out along with the flame. "Maybe Dad's stuck in traffic," Jason whispered, forcing himself to believe it. But Anna saw through the brave face. She reached out, brushing his hair back, fighting back tears. "Sometimes people don't keep their promises," she said softly, voice trembling. "But it's not because of you." The silence between them was heavy, filled with all the words that neither dared say aloud. Anna's mind wrestled with the harsh truth. How much longer could she keep this up? How much longer could she let Jason wait for a father who seemed to be vanishing into thin air? She hated lying, but she hated crushing her son's spirit even more. Jason, barely bigger than the chair he sat on, stared out the window, eyes wide and glossy. His birthday banner, bright and cheerful, fluttered weakly with each gust of wind. His handmade card lay untouched on the table, a testament to his desperate hope. Anna watched him, torn between protecting him and facing the brutal reality. The clock ticked past 3 o'clock, then 4, and still no sign of Chris. Each passing minute was a quiet scream in her chest. She felt like a failure, not just as a mother, but as a human being who couldn't shield her child from heartbreak. As the daylight faded, so did Jason's quiet optimism. He got up once more, pacing near the front door like a small soldier guarding a lost cause. His fingers clutched the edges of the card tighter, knuckles white. Anna wanted to scream at Chris, wanted to call him every name in the book, but she stayed silent, swallowing the rage and the sorrow, because Jason needed her to be the anchor in this storm of disappointment. And just when it seemed the night would close in on their broken little world, a sound echoed from the porch, one that neither of them was ready for. Just as hope seemed lost, a stranger arrived at our doorstep with a letter that shattered and healed us all at once. Jason's heart was still pounding as he raced to the front door, his small hands fumbling with the lock. For 12 hours he'd been waiting, hoping that familiar sound, the creak of the porch steps, the soft thud of his dad's boots on the welcome mat. But this wasn't his dad. Not even close. The man standing there was a stranger, mid-40s, calm eyes that held a quiet kindness, dressed in a navy jacket. He held a worn baseball cap in one hand and a thick envelope in the other. "Are you Anna Reynolds?" he asked gently, his voice steady but soft. "I was asked to deliver this today. It's for your son, Jason." Jason's hopeful gaze faltered, confusion mixing with that tiny flicker of hope still burning inside him. "Is it from Dad?" he whispered. The man nodded, and Anna stepped forward, her breath hitching in her throat. She reached out, taking the envelope with trembling fingers, her eyes scanning the handwriting. Chris's handwriting. So familiar, so heartbreaking. They stepped inside, closing the door behind them, and Anna unfolded the letter with a care that felt almost sacred. Jason leaned into her, his shoulder brushing against hers, eyes wide and fixed on the paper. "Jason," she began, reading aloud with a voice that shook but didn't break. "I know I promised I'd be there for your birthday. I wanted nothing more than to see you smile as you blew out your candles, to hold you tight and tell you how proud I am of the young man you're becoming. But sometimes life doesn't go as planned." Her eyes flicked up to meet Jason's, who swallowed hard, trying to hold back the tears. "I've been sick, son. Very sick. I didn't want you to see me like this, weak, scared, failing you. I thought I'd get better, that I'd keep every promise I made. But the truth is, I'm fighting a battle I can't win." Anna's voice cracked, but she pushed forward, reading the words Chris had written in the quiet hours he had left. "I made this baseball journal for you, filled with sketches, thoughts, and reminders of how much I love you. When I can't be there, I hope you'll find me in these pages. I'm with you, Jason. Every pitch you throw, every run you score, every dream you chase." Jason's hands trembled as Anna handed him a thick leather-bound notebook, its cover stamped with his name in silver. He traced the letters slowly, eyes brimming with tears. They sat together on the worn couch, the silence filled with the weight of everything they'd never said. Jason opened the book slowly, turning each page as though discovering a secret treasure. Drawings of baseball fields, of a father and son throwing a ball under a summer sky, filled the pages. Messy, imperfect, but bursting with love. Anna wiped her tears, her own heart raw and exposed. "He tried," she whispered. "He really did." For a long moment, they just held each other, caught in the fragile space between heartbreak and healing. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying away the echoes of broken promises, but leaving behind something new, a thread of hope they could grasp. But even as they started to understand, neither of them could shake the question hanging heavy in the air. Why had Chris waited so long to tell them the truth? Sometimes the hardest truth is also the most freeing. Learning to say goodbye before it's really goodbye. After the stranger left, the quiet in the house was heavy. Jason sat cross-legged on the floor, the baseball journal open on his lap, but his eyes were distant, lost in a storm of questions he didn't know how to ask. Anna knelt beside him, her voice soft but steady as she tried to explain what Chris's letter hadn't fully revealed. "Your dad was very sick, Jason. It wasn't just a cold or a broken leg. It was something serious that made it hard for him to be here with us." She reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from his forehead. That's why he missed so many birthdays and holidays. It wasn't because he didn't care. He just couldn't. Jason's fist clenched the pages of the journal as a wave of anger crashed over him. Why didn't he tell me? Why did he leave me waiting all those times? Wasn't I important enough? His voice cracked, raw with the pain of years of silence. Anna's heart broke hearing those words. She understood that anger. It was hers, too. "I asked him the same thing, baby. But sometimes people get scared. They don't know how to face the truth, even the ones we love. Days turned into weeks, and Jason's anger slowly morphed into something quieter, something heavier. He started drawing in the journal, his pencil tracing memories he didn't have the words for. Swings in the park, the old baseball glove, a sunset over the field where he and Chris had once played. Each sketch was a story, a conversation with the dad he barely knew but desperately missed. Anna watched him with a mix of pride and pain. She shared her own battles, the nights she wrestled with the urge to blame Chris, to let her bitterness take over, but instead she fought for forgiveness. Holding on to anger only kept me chained to the past. Letting go was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Family and friends stepped in, offering quiet support that sometimes said more than words ever could. Their presence was a lifeline, reminding Anna and Jason they weren't alone in this journey. The simple gestures, a text checking in, a warm meal dropped off, a shoulder to lean on, became the scaffolding holding their broken hearts together. Through the haze of grief, a new strength began to grow. Jason learned that accepting the truth didn't mean forgetting or giving up. It meant honoring his dad's love in a way that was real and honest. Anna saw it too. The way her son's eyes softened when he spoke about Chris, the courage it took for him to face the hurt and still choose hope. But even as they found a fragile peace, a question lingered beneath the surface, one neither of them could shake. How do you rebuild a family fractured by absence and secrets? And could the past ever truly be left behind? When words fail, art speaks, a boy's journey from loss to hope, one sketch at a time. Jason's fingers moved almost instinctively, the pencil gliding across the pages of the baseball journal his dad had left behind. Each stroke, each line was more than just a drawing. It was a conversation, a piece of his heart poured out onto paper. The pain, the confusion, the love he still carried inside, all found a voice through his art. At school, Jason surprised everyone. Instead of retreating into silence, he brought his journal to show and tell. His classmates gathered around, eyes wide as he shared the story behind each sketch, the empty stands of a baseball game he never got to play with his dad, the late-night talks he imagined, the promises inked into every picture. His words were raw, honest, and unfiltered, and by the end, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Anna watched from the back of the classroom, pride and heartache swirling inside her. This wasn't just about Jason finding a way to heal. It was about reclaiming his story, transforming grief into strength. The community responded too. Inspired by Jason's courage, Anna organized a small art exhibit at the local community center, showcasing his drawings alongside works from other kids who had lost parents. It was more than just a display. It was a call for support, a reminder that no one should have to grieve alone. The exhibit became a beacon of hope, bringing families together and sparking conversations about healing through creativity. Psychologists spoke about the power of art therapy, how expressing pain visually helps children process trauma in ways words often can't. For Jason, it was a lifeline, a safe space where his feelings didn't need to be perfect or polite. They just needed to be real. Through it all, Mark, the man who had delivered Chris's letter, became more than just a messenger. He stepped into their lives as a quiet pillar of support, offering guidance and understanding when the weight of loss felt unbearable. His presence reminded Anna and Jason that even in the darkest moments, connections can form that help us carry on. As the exhibition lights dimmed that night, Jason stood tall, holding his journal close. For the first time since his dad's absence, he felt seen, not just as a kid who had been left behind, but as a young artist with a story worth telling. But even in this new chapter of hope and healing, a shadow lingered, a secret buried deep in Chris's past that neither Jason nor Anna was ready to face. Sometimes the birthday we need isn't the one we dreamed of, but the one that helps us grow. Jason's 12th birthday wasn't filled with the excitement or the promises he once clung to. There were no surprise visits, no last-minute apologies, no father standing beside him. But there was something else, something quieter but stronger, a new kind of peace. That morning, Jason and Anna lit 11 candles together. 11 flickering flames casting soft shadows across the worn kitchen table. A small, steady light in a house that had once felt so heavy with waiting. They didn't wait for anyone else to show up. They didn't need to. Jason's hand steadied as he blew out the candles, his eyes meeting his mother's with a calm resilience she hadn't seen before. He was no longer the boy who waited by the door with hope cracking at the edges. He was growing into someone who could hold his own story and own it. He began sharing that story with the world, posting his drawings and his words online. What started as a private way to process his grief blossomed into a message that reached hundreds of other kids and families, people who knew loss, who understood the ache of waiting for someone who never comes. Jason's courage created a community of healing, a reminder that no one has to carry their pain alone. Anna found strength in that same community. She learned to thank those who held their hands through the darkest nights, the friends who sent meals, the neighbors who listened, the strangers who offered kindness without judgment. Gratitude slowly filled the spaces left empty by disappointment. But even now, there are moments when the past whispers too loud, the unanswered questions, the promises never kept, the love left unspoken. There's a weight in Anna's chest and in Jason's heart that hasn't quite lifted. They carry the scars of what was lost and the shadows of what might have been. Still, they keep moving forward, one day at a time. If you've ever felt that sting of waiting, the ache of a goodbye left unsaid, or the fragile hope that maybe things could be different, you're not alone. Maybe this story touched something in you, a memory, a feeling, a truth. If it did, maybe take a moment to share your own story in the comments. Sometimes, speaking our pain out loud is the first step toward healing. And if you want to hear more stories like Jason's, raw, real, and unfiltered, consider joining us here on Revenge Her Way. No pressure, just a place to be seen, to be heard, and to find strength in the stories we share. Because sometimes, the greatest healing begins with knowing we're not walking this path alone.